Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video on my channel. This is me, Jan. Today we will take a look at how we can actually migrate NextAuth V4 to the brand new version NextAuth V5. I was actually a bit skeptical if I should make this video because I wasn't sure if NextAuth V5 is stable enough yet because it is still pretty new. But I've actually migrated one of my projects already, and what can I say? It worked flawlessly without any issues, and I do think that the dev experience is 10 times better than before with V5 of NextAuth. So what we're going to work with is the code base from last video. What I did actually was I improved the front end a bit of this of our code. What I mainly use for this are these block components, which are also quite new still from ShadCN. Modified them a bit, and now this is what it looks like right now. We can click on login, and obviously this isn't perfect. I haven't spent too much time on it, but I have made sure to make this look a little bit better than before. And yeah, so the functionality is all still the same. This is still a NextAuth V4 project right now, but we're going to migrate this entire project to V5 in this video. And I would say without further ado, let's just get started. Okay, so once we actually take a look at the docs from auth.js, I don't think they actually want to be called NextAuth anymore. Well, here they still say migrate to NextAuth. This is strange. Anyways, so here's the whole migration guide, and I've obviously looked through this already. As I said in the beginning, I've migrated one of my projects already. And so the first thing that we have to do is actually I'm using pnpm, which you guys should also obviously do. So let's click on pnpm and let's copy this, and let's create a new terminal tab and insert this, and let's hit install. This is going to install NextAuth V5, or the better version of NextAuth. And so the main thing that has actually changed is that we no longer need to export and pass around this auth options thingy anymore. We previously pretty much had to use get server session, and then we always had to pass this auth options file, which was actually very annoying. But let me guys show you what I mean by that. Now we can just create a auth.ts file in our root directory, which is essentially this source folder right here. Now let's create a auth.ts. And what we can do now is we can just go inside of our auth options from last time, and we can just copy and paste everything over. But now we just only have to adjust a few things. So we no longer have NextAuth options. We can essentially just grab this part right here, we can move it over and pass it like this. Obviously now we have to turn this into a function. Actually, we have to do it like this. We have to go down like this. Yes, that is looking all right. And now we just need to control space on this and import NextAuth. Actually, let's just grab it from the docs. I don't think the auto imports are working yet. So yeah, just like that. There's an issue with the client promise. I think this is because I previously adjusted this code base a little bit, so I have to re-import it like this. Yeah, it should work. The TS server is a little bit slow for me for some reason. Right, and now that we've done that, we are pretty much already done this. One thing that is pretty cool, which makes things a lot easier as well. As you can see, guys, previously it said GitHub provider and Google provider here. Now we can just say GitHub and Google. And the cool thing actually is, if we go down to the environment variables down here, if you name your provider secret client ID variables using the syntax, for example, auth underscore GitHub secret and auth underscore GitHub ID, they will be auto detected and you won't have to explicitly pass them into your provider's configuration. This means we could essentially get rid of this right here. We do not need to manually pass this anymore by just using the correct environment variable names. As you can see, guys, we're getting this error right now. So we just have to remove this provider part, just like so. And now we just say GitHub and Google. Actually, we do not need to call a function in here anymore. And this is what it should now look like, as you can see, guys. And if you're getting an error here, just make sure to hit Ctrl+Shift+P and then just type in restart TS server. I just had a TypeScript error here, which didn't make any sense. So I just was a bit confused and had to restart my TypeScript server once again. But yeah, now that we've done that, we obviously have to make sure that when we go inside of our environment variable file, that we rename our variable names accordingly in order for them to get auto detected by NextAuth. So I have to say auth underscore GitHub ID and auth underscore GitHub secret, just like this. Same goes for Google, obviously. So we have to say auth Google client. I think only Google ID. And then we just copy this over. And here we say Google secret, just like so. And now they're being auto detected and we no longer have to pass them manually inside of our providers. Now, next up, we still have to use the API route. Let me actually make this a bit bigger for you guys, just as before, but we have to change a few things in here. We can just actually copy this over, as you can see, and this is all working fine. As you can see, now our API route is successfully working, and we can essentially just get rid of this auth options file because we will no longer need it. So let's delete it. There's one thing that I find a little bit strange though. That doesn't make a lot of sense in their docs. I don't know if I'm misunderstanding something, but here they say use the auth function instead of get server session, get session with auth, blah, 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 and use session. So the client hook. But then if we go to read more, they actually allow us to just use the auth function for everything except for the client component. Here we still can't use this auth function. So I think there's a logical error in this, but it's not a big deal because we actually won't use the client functions anymore. We can just make use of all the server functions that V5 provides out of the box, which are these essentially. And so yeah, let's actually start with migrating our code. So right now, as you can see, this is what we used before, the get server session thingy. And according to the docs, all we need to do now is just store this auth function function, which we now need to import again from our root directory. So essentially our auth.ts file, which we created, which now pretty much act as our auth options all combined. So now we can just get rid of these, and that's that. That's already working. As you can see, there aren't really like crazy breaking changes. Everything is just a lot cleaner in my opinion. And the switch or the migration to V5 is definitely worth it in my opinion in terms of developer experience. So let me just actually do this for every single route, just like so. And let's actually give this a try real quick. Let's see if we're going to get any errors. Refresh. Let's go to /login. So this is working. What happens if we go to the dashboard? We should get redirected to /login. This is working. Nice. Perfect. So this is working. Let's now try to add the login with Google button. Right now it's doing nothing. And previously what we did was we essentially just said on click, and then we just said sign in Google, and then we imported the client function in order to sign in. This is something that you can still do, but you can also sign in directly via a server component, which is obviously always better because that way we ship less stuff to the client and our app is going to run faster. So let me actually show you guys how you can do this. And my TypeScript server is super slow. This is so annoying. Anyways, let's create a new folder inside of our components. Let's call this one OAuth, and let's call this one Google login button, maybe. Yeah, just like so. That'd be good. And now according to the docs, actually this isn't on the migration page right here, I think. So actually let's go to authentication and OAuth, and let's click on Google. And now as you can see, here we have these redirect URLs, which you have to specify when you're setting up your credentials inside of the Google Cloud Console. And then here they once again tell you to use the auth underscore prefix in order for the environment variables to get auto detected. And this is the stuff that we've already added. And here's the interesting part. As you can see, it is making full use of server components now, which is actually pretty amazing. Now we could just take this code right here. Or actually this part only, this is enough. Let's paste this inside. And now we can just import the sign in function from auth. This is really important from our auth.ts file, not next-auth React. Otherwise you would be using the client component. And now this will obviously work. But actually let's change this to button. So we're using chat.cn. And let me actually go back to my login form. Actually, let me copy this button over real quick. We have all these styles already in place. There we go. And obviously we have to add type submit in order for the form action to get triggered. Now all that's left to do is to just go back inside of our form. And let's replace this button with our component, Google login button, just like this. Once we go back. And now we have a little bit of issue here because we are calling this use server component inside of a use client form. So we have to get rid of use client. There's just one problem right now, and that is that chat.cn's form component has to be using use client. And I'm actually unsure as to how we can do this because we are forced to put this inside of here. So in this case, I think we're actually forced to use the client component. But let's actually imagine, or let's actually move this component outside of a client component. So let's get rid of this again. So the error should now be gone. Okay, so let's move it just for demonstration purposes. Let's move this button here. As you can see, I'm now in the page file of the login route. So this is automatically a server component. And now let's import the Google login button, just so you know that you can actually use this on the server. As you can see, now I can just click this login with Google button, and it is now actually signing me in with Google. Click continue. We are now signed in, as you can see. Here we go. Now let me actually log out real quick. So if you would not be using chat.cn right now, you can probably manage to get this working. But with the current setup, I think it would just be easier to use the client function. So let me actually undo these changes, and let's add an on click. We also have to pass an E to prevent the form from submitting. So we have to say e.prevent default, and then we can just say sign in. Now I think this function is already in here. Yeah, this is, as you can see, if you're using it inside of a client component, you have to make sure to import the sign in function from NextAuth directly instead of the auth.ts file inside of our root directory. But as you can see, guys, now we can essentially get the same functionality. If we click login with Google, this will still work fine. As you can see, I'm now signed in. But yeah, obviously the recommended way right now is to use a server component. And yeah, other important changes are that all environment variables should actually have this auth prefix instead of next-auth. So let's actually do that as well real quick. So that means that we replace next-auth with auth, just like this for everything. And another change is that the auth URL, which we previously always had to add, is not strictly necessary anymore in most environments. They will now auto-detect a host based on the request headers. We'll just personally just leave it in, but because it didn't break stuff for me, but I'm sure you don't need it anymore. Well, they say so here. But yeah, what is still very, very important is that you add the auth secret. That is that for the environment variables. The credentials provider will still work the same. There are no changes. Actually, the only thing that has changed is that we apparently no longer need this name credentials. Oh, I think this is still optional if we're using the default form provided by NextAuth. And we have to remove the provider and just make it say credentials, just like this. This is the only change pretty much. So if we now go to sign up, let's take a look at our database. There's no user in it yet. Let's create one. Let's do hello@gmail.com. Password is going to be 2341234. Let's create an account. Let's wait. As you can see, the toast says account created. Now we we can just click on sign in. Let's click at hello@gmail.com. Let me actually enter a invalid password. And now it says error, invalid credentials. Please try again. Let's use the correct one now. Login and inside of our account. So the credentials provider also hasn't changed pretty much. It was like this slight change that I just showed you guys, but everything is working out of the box. The only cool thing now is that we don't need to pass this auth options everywhere, because that was very annoying when we now use. Let me actually also update this as well. So we can just get rid of everything in here. We can just say auth, just like this. You obviously have to do this everywhere. As you can see here, there's also using get service session. So in this case, you would have to get rid of this as well, saving a lot of unnecessary code this way. Let's import this just like so. Now let's actually see if this still works. Let's change our email. Right now it says hello@gmail.com. Hello, hey@gmail.com. Change email. Email changed. We get a notification. The email changed in the database. Let's see if our session also updated if we refresh. Yep, that is also still working, just like in the last video. And that is essentially how you can guys migrate to V5. It's actually very straightforward and easy. Improves the developer experience a lot. I will actually keep on working on this template a little bit more. Then I will just start cutting this video and upload it to YouTube. And then you will find a GitHub repository down in the description below with this starter template. I'm going to keep working on it, improve it a little bit more, and then you can just slap this into your application. But always, of course, make sure to know what is actually happening behind the scenes. So hopefully watch this video till the end and all the other episodes on NextAuth, because otherwise you won't have a fundamental understanding of what is actually going on inside of your code base, which is always very important. Oh, and by the way, the nav is also taken from Shatsy and blocks, so it is like fully responsive, as you can see. You have this little sheet popping up. And yeah, I'm just going to improve this a little bit more, and then you can use it. That is this for this video. I hope you guys are going to have a great day, and thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.